Good morning, everybody. It's Dr. Vibe here, host and producer of the award-winning Dr. Vibe show, the home of Epic Conversations. And I'm the host of Epic Conversations 2020, Best Podcast News Award winner, 2018 Innovation Award winner given out by the Canadian Ethnic Media Association. I also co-host and co-produce the only online show in the world for dads and fathers that is sponsored by Doesnt Plus Care. As part of that team in 2022 and 2021, reached out directly and indirectly to over 100,000 dads and fathers around the world. I don't know if I won did I mention I won an award in 2018? I did win an award in 2018 too from the Canadian Ethnic Media Association, their Innovation Award. As I always like to say, you're blessed, highly favored, magnet for miracles, solution for someone's problem. And happy to have you here on a Monday morning after quite an interesting weather weekend in Toronto. What's going on, Ryan Knight?
Yeah, how many of us are listening to the morning vibe, lying in bed because you blew out your back trying to struggle? So for those
snowblower,
yeah, okay, I got to upgrade to that. For those that don't know who I am, my name is Ryan Knight, one of the co-founders of the Afro-Caribbean Business Network. We support entrepreneurs of African and Caribbean heritage, really to figure out what stage their business is in, and then help them create a strategy to grow their companies exponentially. I am an entrepreneur myself. I run a company called Detailing Nights. So we provide mobile waterless car cleaning. So we go to people's houses, their offices, clean their cars on the spot without water, and our plant-based eco-friendly cleaning supplies. And we are rebooting the youth entrepreneurship program. So if you know somebody in high school, college, even out of school that is looking for a summer job, we'd love to show they have the potential to start their own business running a mini version of Detailing Nights. And you'll see I'm still rocking the Paku shirt, which is the Pan-African Credit Union. So if you want to be part of helping a Black-owned, a Black-serving financial institution come into being, please go to paku.ca and put your pledge in. You can become part owner of the new up-and-coming credit union, the Pan-African Credit Union. But yes.
So it's been a while since we've seen you because you weren't on Friday with Mr. Harris. So what's been going on in there's a number of things we want to chat about. How are things going on with you and your family? Your dear wife did a very interesting IG live on Saturday.
Yeah, showing that she was braving the storm because she's an essential worker, registered nurse, and also founder of Ebony Occasions. So she, on her Instagram, put up a live of her getting to work and showing like she's got those and that's where it's interesting because she mentioned in the live, we call our essential workers our heroes, yet the current government, provincial government, isn't treating them as such. So this battle with the nurses and the pay and how to keep nurses, because there's been an exodus. So
yes,
we definitely have to do better. And so she had a message for Premier Ford specifically to think of what our nurses are going through and how we're supporting them.
Question: How did you and your family endure the snowstorm we had? Well, it was really wild. It happened in a very set amount of hours on Friday night. It was just like a few hours, but it came down fast and furious. And a lot of things in the greater Toronto Halton area were canceled that night. But the next day things started melting like crazy.
Yeah, the roads were really good on Saturday. I was shocked how, because I had planned to shut down my entire Saturday after the three-peat of shoveling night, early morning,
snowblower,
and shout out to my neighbors, Diane and her sister. They helped us. We were like helping each other because we share that driveway. But Yeah, man, it was heavy. But then that's where you're saying Saturday driveway, you saw
the snow melted off my driveway. And actually, was it Saturday? See, so people may think I'm crazy, but the best time to shop, especially in the winter, is either during or a few hours after a snowstorm, because everyone shopped on Friday because Armageddon was happening.
Oh, okay, yes.
And then, so I went out Saturday morning. The grocery stores, the stores were empty. Empty.
Yes.
I mean, it was I strategically do that. I say, okay, roads are really clear. So Saturday morning, usually they're quiet on Saturday mornings, but even more so. Right. Last Saturday was a joy to shop.
And so the Saturday, I wasn't planning to leave my bed, but there was an amazing event happening called Black Futures by George Brown College. So shout out to Natalie Wood and Charlene, the team there, putting together what George Brown is calling the Black Futures Office. So this office is going to be really taking into account Black student experience.
They need to come on the show and talk about this.
I will definitely send out the request.
I'm putting it out there. All y'all Black organizations, I know you're waiting for City Pulse, waiting for Global, you're waiting for CBC to cover you. Okay, nothing wrong with getting that coverage. First of all, wouldn't you like to broadcast stuff to your people, or I hope your people are melanated people, and also stuff that's going to stay online for a long, long time? Like,
absolutely.
I'm really going to start repeating this, going over and over again. Why aren't y'all organizations reaching out to us? I guess we're not big enough. Okay, I guess so. But the thing is, and nothing against, again, when you go on these major platforms, yes, but wouldn't you like to be also defined by Black media?
And that's where that list, if there's, I would say 5 key Black media outlets, those should be the first that we hit with these events.
I wouldn't say it's a first, but at least let's be included. All right. There's room for everybody.
Yes.
And I'm going to speak for people here on the regular. You are all people that I would want to get my message to.
Makes sense. Yes.
Right. Because the core family here on the Morning Vibe, Canada and US, by the way, are people that have large audiences that they can communicate directly to. So it just came to mind. I'm going to keep on hammering away on this, really and truly, because because first of all, when you get to major media, first you got to fit into their timeline.
Oh yeah, and you usually only get a snippet of time.
Right. You and I have both been interviewed by mainstream media.
Yes.
How much time are you interviewed versus how much time do you get on there?
Yeah, usually it's the same. You get 5 minutes.
If that, you get a 5-minute interview, but what goes to live, especially if it's pre-recorded, is even shorter.
Gotcha.
Right, because you're competing against other news stories and things. Here, you got a whole hour.
Right.
I'm not saying, I'm just saying, so. Oh, you know what? People say, is Dr. Vab ranting? No, I'm not. I'm just saying like it is. But you know what? I forgot to do something. So in my forgetfulness, we forgot to do something. So please forgive us, McMillan Group. Forgive me. So this episode of the Morning Vibe is sponsored by the McMillan Group, providing mortgage solutions one client at a time since 1999. Buying, refinancing, or investing, call them at 905 in Canada, 905-813-4354, US 904-586-5636. So I just need to put that there. Sorry, McMillan Group, but you are here now. You're here. So you're back. All right. So that I just need to mention that, because I really people. Yeah, we really got to talk about this on a regular basis, this media thing. So I just wanted to put it out there. So be done.
All right.
For now.
Yes.
And also the McMillan Group information is also there too. So just want to make sure we're covered all bases. All right. Don't want people to say, Dr. Vibe, what happened that Monday thing? And actually, it's interesting.
Yes.
One of the things that's happened to me since we last spoken to, I have spoken to another African American who's asking me to provide them information about moving to Toronto.
Okay.
And this is a gentleman who runs a fairly major arts and culture organization. He's based in Philly right now, Philadelphia, and he wants to come and move to Toronto. So one of the people I'm arranging him to meet with is Ray McMillan. Another person is Wayne Harris, and another person is Roger Dundas. 3 regulars here on this platform. Hello.
It. Yes.
Okay. Sorry about that. We got a comment here. Fitnance IQ says, good morning, gentlemen. Good morning.
Good day.
Good morning, Tim Frey.
Yes.
Good morning. Good morning. And it's interesting. I'm not going to get into too much detail, but there was an idea that you and I mentioned a few months ago that someone has taken the URL address. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Okay.
You may, if you think about it, you may know what it is, but because I went checking over the week, I said, did Ryan take that?
Okay.
Or did Tim take that? So, but someone's taken it. So it's interesting to see what because it actually, they've also created an Instagram ID, and it came up on my timeline asking me if I wanted to join their timeline. So
what? I need to. What? Okay, I gotta do some investigative.
No, I'll send it to you. I'm gonna share with you in the private chat.
Cool.
Because I said, did Ryan take that? And I mentioned it. I asked. I wanted to on based on Friday's conversation. I was going to reach out to Tim Frey because I said maybe he took it, but check your private chat.
Ooh,
someone took it. CA, com, etc.
Okay.
So, and of course they're smart. They're making they've made it private. So don't know, but it's interesting. So we just having some fun here and love everyone. And hey, we're doing an open mic today. Anyone you have any things to say? Ryan and I are going to chat about some stuff. But where do you want to chat? Open up the conversation.
I'm curious who saw the live Chris Rock Netflix special. Yo, I had my bitch counter on.
Oh,
he said, "Yo, man." So you have to see it just to see what I'm talking about. But the B word was dropped at least 10 times against one person. So,
well, what are your thoughts?
It was all right. I mean, I was kind of in and out. Not to say I was falling asleep, but it was late. So it was okay, though. It had some funny parts. You know, I wouldn't say it's his best, but better than Tambourine. I don't know if anybody saw that live special. I would say it was better than that one. And yeah, it went a bit hard at Will Smith. I was actually shocked that he brought it up at all and that he made it very clear how he felt about the slap.
Greetings, Divine, right? Oh wow, the family's coming in. Good day, Dr. Vibe and Night. Good stuff. Yes. And she goes, "Oh, Divine, oh my, I need to see it." Yeah, you need to see it. Okay, I think Chris Rock is smart as heck.
Okay.
So one of the things I really want to always want to chat about is culture, and wealth. Culture and wealth. So let's take a look at it, family. It's almost a year ago since the slap happened.
Right.
And it seems like it's been longer than that. So look at this. Chris Rock, anytime people asked him to comment on it, he said nothing.
True.
Okay. Yeah. He said nothing. And so what he did is to get everyone, he's the hottest commodity comedian wise on the planet. He said, you know what? I'm going to hold till I can leverage a huge deal with Netflix on this.
Yes.
So family, think about it. He could have talked about it the day after, that night. Excuse me.
Anytime in between. Yeah.
Anytime in between. He sat on it for a year.
Right.
Excuse me. until he got paid nicely
That's
from
true.
Netflix, right?
Yeah.
So think about it, and he went in on Will Smith,
and that's what shocked me, that he really did go deep into it, and like quickly though. It wasn't like it lingered for the entire special. It was very succinct, and he made his thoughts known, and then let it be done. You know. Yeah.
Yep. It just look at it. Very strategic. Very strategic. So
true.
People can learn to leverage your intellectual property.
But something that he did bring up that thing was raising his daughters that are now adults.
Yep.
And the way that, children aren't he put it as like, oh, they're not the perfect human beings as they are born, of course, tongue in cheek. But it was interesting, like how he described the way that she was a child and had a couple issues, but then as an adult going to high school, and the way that he dealt with her acting out, and they wanted to kick her out the school and all this stuff, and the way that he dealt with it was quite interesting, and it might have had positive results the way that he handled it. So that was something that stuck out to me, because there's no blueprint for raising children, and I do have a daughter, so these are similar things that might come up and how to deal with it. But yeah, it was an interesting special. And him being single now, and that whole
he talked a little bit about the black manhood, etc., etc. And so Chris Rock got paid a minimum. I just did a minimum of $20 million.
Wow!
Because he signed a 2 special deal with Netflix.
Gotcha.
He got paid a minimum of $20 million for that.
I could see that. That's heavy.
Okay, so interesting. So people, if you haven't watched it, watch it. But the real thing you got to take on it is how he leveraged that. Remember, he didn't say anything about it for a year. His family said stuff about it. His brother talked about it. All of us were talking about it. But the man who took the blow, who took this, stayed quiet.
And I think he mentioned his brother in the in his performance. I don't think he's ever mentioned his brothers before. Right. Or if he has, I didn't notice it. But yeah.
Right. So it was I think it's a brilliant lesson in leverage. Look at, and here, so Rogers, can you imagine how much Netflix is earning if they can pay him $20 million?
And that's one thing that we have to look at as performers, even our professional workers, employees. Yes, you're getting paid a certain amount and you're raising through the ranks, but the amount of money that you actually produce for the company, a lot of times we don't realize how valuable we are. And I use the example of, and I'm going to forget her name, please look it up, the lady that helped to design the GPS system. Could you imagine the amount of money that this woman has helped the world to create, and the leverage of the power, because she was working for, I believe, the American Navy and helping with their GPS systems for their missile launches and all this. So she should be a quadrillion, multi-billion zillionaire. Yet we're in an entity that we're working and giving our IP, and then the company or whoever gets to leverage it, the hidden figures all over again. This is something that we have to start owning our IP. Because I remember I watched this documentary, and I think I mentioned it on the show too, where there's two white gentlemen working at a software development company, and they were designing video games, and they figured out how to make a computer run as smooth as like a hard console. They quit. They're like, yo, we figured this thing out. We're out of here. Started their own company around that technology and then licensed it back to the company that they were working, and of course sold their own game. I don't know. I don't think we as a Black community think about that kind of stuff when we're working as an employee.
Well, see, this is the thing. And okay, I'm gonna just hold on. Divine Right says, and I bet you his views go up on Everybody Hates Chris because that's on either Hulu or Peacock. Yep. And so because I think many of us were not raised in financial or entrepreneurial culture.
Okay.
So it isn't something that comes relatively to us, like top of mind. But I just think about it, like I said, look at what Chris Rock has done. Leverage. Right. But okay, right. So a few Tim Frey, I'm going to come to you in a minute because I know you've brought up some good comments about the subject we raised a few moments. So let's stay a bit on Chris Rock. Ray says, good morning, folks. Don't think we can compare tech creators to entertainers. Entertainers are only relevant as long as they're entertaining.
And it's Gladys West. Look up Gladys West, the lady that helped to design GPS system. And so, I'm sorry, Ray was saying entertainers are not the same as...
said, good morning, folks. Don't think we can compare tech creators to entertainers. Entertainers are only relevant as long as they're entertaining.
Yeah, fair. But I think, was it Divine Right saying... No, Roger was saying that how much money that he got paid is a fraction of probably what Netflix is able to pull in because of the show.
I'd be interested just to see what Netflix stock is gone up this morning on the stock exchanges because of that, right?
Oh, true. Okay.
Hayden says, morning, Hayden. Good morning, gentlemen. We've got to understand the capitalist system, then try to match it. Yeah, we got to understand it because, like I said, it's a perfect example of how he leveraged and made $20 million. And I think it's a brilliant move. Brilliant move. Absolutely. Yes, leveraging. Brilliant move. Okay. Keep on keeping the comments in. We're going to go back to something earlier on. So we might as well talk about it because Tim Frey brought it up. Well, hold on. I'll get to you, Christopher, in a moment because you're talking about that movie. But Tim says, Oliver Walter from City TV and I pitched Black Pulse 24 back in the 90s to Moses Zeimer, who was the founder of City TV, if people don't know. When they came with CP24, it was too controversial for Moses Backer, who is from Bermuda, where I have my studio. So there's interesting stuff. So Moses Backer at one time was in Bermuda. And also now Tim's saying, I mentioned BP24 to Ryan over a year ago when he pitched Black Panther Cage.
Ooh, Black Panther Cage is something we got to get on too. But
then Ryan mentioned it on the Morning Vibe. So we might as well let it out now. So what Ryan and I started off talking about, I said to Ryan, looked up an URL address that we had mentioned a few months ago on the Morning Vibe. Now, Black Pulse 24, it is taken. Black Pulse 24 CA is taken. Is taken. And from my research is someone in Canada has bought it, the URL. What they do with it, that's a whole other conversation. But they also, if you want, they are on Instagram, Black Pulse 24. So who knows what will come to it? From it. Sorry.
Pull up the .com. It's showing something. Hold on. Can I show my screen?
No, because I'm gonna go get it right now, but I don't think it's available.
Watch. Okay. Are you seeing this?
Here we go. And I thought Tim was somewhere. Black Pulse 24 belongs to my parent company. Tim's saying that right now.
Yes.
Right?
This is legit. Okay, people. Things are in motion. I love it.
Okay, so you want me to show your screen? No, so I didn't show your screen. Do you want me to show it?
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So why did I think Tim Frey was somewhat involved in this? I just had that feeling. I just had that feeling. So Tim, good purchase. You are a true mover and shaker. And Tim Frey moves.
How did you get this
silent.
up so quick? This is like the website's already ready to rock and roll.
There you go.
Okay, people. Let's get on it. It's showing now?
Yep.
Okay. So Black Pulse 24. So now this makes me think of, at the symposium, we had all those content creators on stage. We need to rally the troops around something like this to say this is a place in Canada.
Okay, so
I mean, it's not even branded. Just
Tim is saying check out the team. So also McMillan Group is Ray is saying smart move, Tim, the value of URLs. Absolutely. I have some URLs that I've held on for 10, 15 years. I haven't get them up. Tim says set 3 years ago. Good morning, Latanya. Hope you're doing fine. Says the main idea is we need to stop pigeonholing ourselves based on one set of expertise. We are now learning how to get more out of our time and effort and how to monetize it. Yes, we are learning.
Hey, is this showing?
Okay, so I'm going to add it to it right now. Okay, so Jay Martin, Tim Frey, comic Jay Martin. So of course we're giving Tim like free game here now.
Hey, he needs to come on and talk about this. Look, there's a spot right here for Dr. Vibe. You got an open spot right here.
Well, I'd love to be part of that. So Tim, I'm asking for a conversation live. Yes. Again, black people. I made that live. It ain't going nowhere. So if people say, I can say, Tim, I asked you publicly. You're gonna reach out to me. That's up to him. It's his property. I'm not just playing around, but I'd love to get a call with him in regards to that. So again, it's all leveraging what we were talking about again with Chris Rock, leveraging all that sort of thing is really, really important. So he got free game on the morning vibe this one without even showing his face. You know what I'm saying?
And he's overdue for
yes.
appearance.
Yes. Christopher Lawrence, how about the movie Creed 3, Holy Goat Meat? I haven't seen the movie. I haven't seen
2. Number 1 was really good. I like Creed, the first one. I didn't watch number 2 because Ryan Coogler wasn't directing that one. And now the third one is Michael B. Jordan
who's directing it.
He kind of jumped in that quite quickly. So I'll give it a look. I have to watch number 2 first, though, because there might be some continuity.
Right. And Christopher says, shout out to Tim Frey. Yes.
I haven't watched Avatar yet. I'm so behind.
We can't get into too much detail about it, but no, can we? Well, sort of. I'll just say Ryan and I were in a very interesting Okay, hold on. Look at this. Tim says, not ready for launching. We don't make pre-announcements. Smart move.
All right.
I love that. Also, I want to, as I said, Ryan and I were part of an interesting conversation last week about, just say, behaviors of the federal government when it comes to Black organizations. We're down the road in the near future, we're going to have a very interesting edition of the Morning Vibe in regards to how, as Louis Marsh would say, the funding Olympics.
Right. Yes.
I'm not going to get too more deeply in that, but, I'm sure people on this call have their own thoughts about how funding is done when it comes with the federal government and Black organizations in this country. And again, I'm not going to get too deep, but recently there was an announcement that, and again, let's just put it. I said a year ago, Canadian government was going to award $200 million to a Black organization to help Black nonprofits. All we're going to say on top of that is, aye.
Well, you called it that there's going to be some fireworks, and you're like, just wait. And so said, so done.
Yep.
But that's where the fireworks weren't really surprising, because I wrote an article about this on LinkedIn, the cash propaganda of the government using these announcements to prop up themselves. And so when they have their own agenda, suddenly money or agreements move really fast. And when it's not really in their best interest, or they don't really, it's not a priority, things move really slowly. And one thing that I mentioned on this show, they talked about the Canadian Institute for People of African Descent.
Oh, CPAD, yes.
CPAD, which turned into NEPAD. They haven't announced who got that. And that was announced back in at least 2021, not 2020.
Yeah, the submission date was back in 2021.
And so that's where certain decisions, like, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but the decision to give the Black Entrepreneurship Loan Fund to FACE happened within 3 months. The decision to give out the $200 million, I think, happened within less than 2 months. But the Institute, it's been over a year and no decisions. So this is where they pick and choose what they want to do really quickly.
Okay. So Fitnance, just getting back, I haven't watched it yet, but I watched The Strays on Netflix, which was...
Strays. Really
I have no idea what The Strays are.
What is that about? Okay, I got it.
Tim Frey says, do we know how the $200 million is going to be used?
No.
All I'm going to say, Tim, no, well, oh boy. Okay, let's put it this way. We won't know, and I can't even.
Well, the $200 million is not to be used. That's where people get it kind of mixed up, where the money that was allocated for the loan fund, that needs to be loaned out. This money for the $200 million is an endowment. So it's just going to be invested. And this is my limited knowledge of endowments. So if we can put together a panel that understands how endowments work, I've wanted to do that.
Well, based on our conversation, you had to leave, but with that, Jim, we're going to have a roundtable in a month or two to go on that. But let's just say that from the information that was shared from someone who knows, to myself and Ryan,
but this is where
and this is not going to be going away. It's not going away,
right?
And I know our gentleman from the Globe and Mail. I have a feeling you'll be seeing a story very soon from him on that.
Right.
You know, I'm surprised he hasn't reached out. I forget the reporter's name. It's my head, not my heart. But I have a feeling he watches the Morning Vibe. So I have a feeling you and I are going to be getting a call real soon.
Yes.
Real
interesting, because I posted pictures. I was invited to a roundtable with Pierre Polyev.
Yes, and I guess people must think you're running for the Conservative Party now.
Yeah, I think I'm like best friends. I'm blue and all this, but it was interesting because in the meeting it came up around the funding Olympics, you could call it. And again, shout out to Marcel Wilson, the founder of One by One movement, who does a lot of work with violence prevention. And the meeting was around strategies for violence prevention in the community. And so how funding gets to organizations and how to hold those organizations accountable came up in the meeting. And this is similar to when money is rolled out through the federal government. And Louis March always mentions it when he comes on. Less than 1% of that money is used on impact measurement and analyzing if the work that was done was actually effective. People know how to write grants, they know how to get the grants, yet they don't have to really be accountable for how effective they are with the grant. So this is where that has to change. And if the Black Opportunity Fund and their pressure with the $200 million endowment can put pressure on the process, that to me is something that needs to be done.
Absolutely. It's overdue. It's overdue.
It's way overdue.
It's overdue. Like,
yeah. Even
in this situation, why aren't I'll just put it out there. All the organizations that receive government funding, they need to go through an audit, a financial audit by a accredited organization.
Yeah, the financial audit is fine, but also like
and an organizational audit. And an organizational audit.
Are they actually
the money is one thing, but the organization performance, because this just makes it laughable that what were many organizations complaining about? What was a major challenge with many Black-led organizations when the pandemic came up? What did we see? There was no plan for sustainability.
True, right.
So it's happening it's just continuing here. And let's admit, family, one day government's going to have to say, you know what, we can't give it because you got to pay this money back, or we got to get some ROI on this. I'm just saying.
We should be asking that of ourselves. Like, the government is one thing, and this is one thing that I keep trying to mention when we talk about the Black entrepreneurship ecosystem. The government didn't create any framework for how the ecosystem has to work with each other. So it's on us to now leverage how we use this money collectively and collaborate instead of relying on, because the government doesn't have metrics for that. We have to create it ourselves. But if we get the money and then go into retreat to our camps and just do our programs 2024, 25, that money, it actually has a deadline. So there's no money that is committed to come in
after that.
So literally the money is done. So millions and millions of dollars is not committed, and we haven't figured out how to leverage the ecosystem to either continue the program or at least become sustainable.
Well, Ryan, I've got to appreciate your openness on that, because I'm sure first of all, many of these organizations are invisible. They might as well be right there. Well, this is just me talking. Like, again, I go back to when all this money was awarded, reached out to 30 organizations saying, again, congratulations. This is what I do. This is who I am. Would you like to come on my platform and just talk about your organization? None of them replied.
And you said 30 because 10 of them didn't even have email addresses or websites. So I was part of a round.
So here's my question: how would a taxpayer feel that you're giving my money to an organization that's basically a ghost?
And we have to do better than that. We can't.
Well, not only we, but the government has to do better. The government has to do better.
Well,
how are you handing out money to an organization that how do people get in contact with? The people that are giving the people's money who's going to this organization can't even get in contact with this organization? What up? What would that?
But they know how to get the money. So the government, that's where it's tricky for the government, because the government can be manipulated. Like, you can put on paper anything that you want. Like, I'm sure the government has a connection to them, but a lot of times these organizations don't have connection to the community. So front facing, it's difficult to get in contact with them, but they have great relationships with the government, so they can get the money, do whatever it is that they do, but we never hear about it. So that's why it's interesting that I'm kind of in this loop of seeing who got funded, trying to touch base with them, and again, sharing with you, like, hey, these are all the people that got funded. Let's reach out to them, seeing who responds. All this stuff is being documented, but I don't think it's been documented before, because usually it's only one organization that gets money. They can disappear and do whatever they want and then just come back and get more money because they can write the reports. And we've seen organizations get caught making up fake reports and making up reports just to get more money. So this is not conspiracy. This is like this is what we're observing. We have to do better.
All right.
It won't continue for long.
Okay. Tim Frey says, this is what I meant, Ryan. Depends what bylaws and policies are around in the endowment, you can leverage to buy a building, let's say a supply chain building, and lease out to Black manufacturers. Where we have to keep our lips sealed on some of this stuff, but there's some stuff we know that I'm sure it's going to come out. And I respect the person that we are speaking with, so I don't want to share any of the deep details. But let me just put it this way. I'm sure it's going to come out, especially one or two things. When they get out in the general public, it's not going to be pretty. And from a system, and it's not just specific, but from a system-wise, it's not pretty at all.
No, but what Tim's talking about is some high-level wishful thinking. Like, if we just look at the Toronto Community Foundation, and there's community foundations all across Canada, wealthy people put money into these foundations as an endowment. That endowment just gets invested, and then the interest is what is granted out. So in Brampton, the Brampton Community Foundation, they give out grants of like 6,000, 10,000, maybe max. And their endowment fund is in the millions. So what is actually going to come out of the endowment, again, most likely is going to go to nonprofits. So I doubt that they would have a plan to lease a warehouse and create a supply chain division. But hey, maybe we have to get the right nonprofits into the room to say, when that money starts to create grants, is this one of our high priorities so that we can use the money effectively so that we have a great return on investment? If those conversations aren't happening, then it's just going to go to programs like we've seen for the past 50 plus years. And we're talking about the return on investment of that is not very high. So we have to get ahead of this. And this is where conversations about this endowment fund should be happening on a regular basis, yet they aren't happening. So we should
So Finance Cam goes, I enjoy when you discuss these topics. How am I able to research more of this, or should you turn in to Dr. Divine? Well, I think you can do some research, but you can also, Finance IQ Cam, you know how to get in touch with both of us. We can share you a lot of evaluated experience. You know, Ryan is part of a nonprofit. I used to be part of a nonprofit. So both of us have evaluated experience, and we both come into contact or hear lots of conversations with melanated Black nonprofits. We hear a lot of what's going on, a lot of stuff you wouldn't even know. So, you know,
but also we can dictate the conversation. I feel I wasn't part of this whole nonprofit realm 5+ years ago, but now that I am, we actually can call discussions. We have a platform like Dr. Vibe and the Morning Vibe to bring organizations and hold them accountable. We can call these town halls. We're interconnected into this ecosystem. So we're not just observers from the sidelines saying like, oh, what are you doing down there? No. We're in it. So if you have ideas and you want to know more about what's going on, we can call that meeting. It's not about we're disconnected from all of the foolishness that's going on now. I would say I'm in the mix of the foolishness. So hold us accountable and say, what exactly is this Black Entrepreneurship Ecosystem Fund about? Where's the money gone?
Okay.
We can do that.
I'm going to say something to you, Ryan. I'm going to say this out of love. Don't get too attached. Make sure you and your organization do your own thing. If you I'm not sure. I'm sure I'm not the first person to tell you this, but there can be a downside being too attached to the ecosystem. I'm just saying that make sure you and your team focus, especially you, focus on ACBN, because I want you to, because I care about you and your family and your team and what you're doing. Separate. And I do understand how you're passionate about it, but you've realized now some of these people don't care.
But this is where I've talked to elders and they typically dismiss the Black community. They're like, yo, I've been in that and I'm done with it because it's just too much headache. We can't dismiss the ecosystem because that's where the true power is. And after listening to Dr. George Fraser, Addison, and of course we listened to, and he came on the show and talked about this, we have to lean into the collaboration. That is the
okay.
True way.
Okay, so I agree with you, but something, if you love somebody, set them free.
Right.
And the thing is, and I agree with you, but the thing is, if they're not willing to go, how much are you willing to invest? And I'm going to add something else. The George Fraser, you're talking about George Fraser. Remember meeting him many times, but a few years ago when he appeared at the New York City Center, and I showed up half an hour early, and I'm going to refer to it, the conversations on my website. One of the questions I asked Dr. Fraser is, how can we as a Black people move forward? You know what he said? He says, get rid of people who don't want to move forward. Let them go.
I 100% agree with that.
So I agree.
The only way you know who wants to move forward is we have to engage.
But Ryan, when you've heard the phrase, when people show you who they are, that's who they are.
But that's where we still have to push. We still have to figure out,
how much are you willing to push and at what cost?
Listen, creating a thriving Black entrepreneurship ecosystem is, if not the highest priority, it's number two.
I agree.
So
I agree. So
I mentioned this at the symposium. This is what is the big priority on my table. Our programs with ACBN, those are great, and that does not get derailed because we have an amazing team and they run the programs and they're excellent. And I throw my ideas in there sometimes and they get flustered because I come with some wild ideas. But bringing together the ecosystem has to be high priority. And at all costs.
But the thing is, okay, so here my question is, how many members of the ecosystem are there?
44.
What percentage, if you're willing to answer this, what percentage of those 44 do you feel are committed to it?
What's the percentage? There's 10. So what is that? Like 20?
So 10 out of the 44, right?
So far, yes.
Okay. How much energy are you willing to give to get the rest on board when others are ready to move forward?
Hey, once a week. That I've
committed. No, but I'm talking long term, Ryan. I'm not talking about right now.
This is are
you willing to sacrifice the progress of the organization, of all of you, for 34? And how long are you willing to sacrifice forward progress because of 34 that are not committed?
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying piece by piece, we're finding who's serious. So out of 44, we found 10. So those 10 we're moving forward with.
Okay.
But I'm not forgetting about the 30.
No, I'm not saying not forgetting.
So I'm just saying, to answer your question, they get an email a week.
Okay.
That reminds them.
Okay. So that's clarity to me. I wouldn't want to hear that these 34 are stopping the progress that the 10 are doing.
Right. Yeah. So I wouldn't say, they're holding up anything.
Okay. I just wanted clarity on that. Yeah. Roger Dunn says, why isn't the government investing in Paku instead of funding all these nonprofits to give loans?
The question was asked multiple times, and the response that we get is the money that was allocated cannot be invested into Paku because the money that was allocated was only for loaning purposes, and it was 30 million. The money that was allocated for programs, again, can't be invested directly into Paku. So the government said no. I don't know how else to put it. They said that they didn't create a mechanism for Paku to get that investment. But we did include that in the budget consultations that have been going on to say this is something that does need investment. So maybe they'll find a way to put it into the budget, But for right now, the entire Black Entrepreneurship Program, that $400 million, they said we can't carve out $15 million to put into Paku.
Okay, straight from the. And Tim Frey says you might as well go to Vegas with $200 million and put it all in black. Might have a better outcome. Hayden Morrison goes, I agree with Ryan. Sometimes quitting is not simply an option. I never said quitting on the whole thing, but there's some people that you just say, you know what, when they're ready, you're there. But you can't stop the progress of the committed at the expense of those who are not committed.
And Dr. Fraser said this too. Sometimes we have to wait for them to just die out.
That's what he said to me.
Right.
But Roger says Ryan doesn't make any sense. Paku is sustainable and will survive all the recipients of the FedDev grants.
I 100%. That's why I put my reputation on the line when I'm in these rooms to ask that question, because nobody else is asking the question. Like, could we use the money for something actually sustainable that would create better long-term impact for the Black community? And when the answer is no, it makes you wonder, does the government actually want to see the Black community empower ourselves? It really shifts the way I look at people that say that they're supporting the community, but when you give them the actual blueprint that could support the community better than what they've thought of, they say, no, we'll keep on the same path that we're on because we feel that this is better. Their intentions are shown through their actions. We have to get away from the theory and the fluff, and organizational leaders like myself are very good at talking about how great our organization is, but then do our actions and our results actually match the words that are coming out of our mouths?
It's called alignment.
And this is what we have to, and this is what I was talking to Cam about, Camille from Fitness IQ. We have the opportunity right now to hold these organizations accountable. We need to take advantage of that. And again, like you said, Dr. Vibe, unfortunately, I'm part of that. So holding this.
No, I would say fortunately, because we get to access you. Many of these organizations, they, for some reason, don't want to, for whatever reason, come on these platforms.
I think it was only 4 have come on the show so far.
So that's what I'm saying. For whatever reason, they don't want to show their entendre word here, face. So they just want, so they don't, so Tim Frey says, Roger just answered why the government doesn't give to Paku. Yeah.
And they definitely need to shift that. And they have the opportunity. They have 2 years, and within those 2 years, there's a new budget coming out. They have the ability.
Yes, there is a new budget coming out. And then LinkedIn user goes, what is the status of Paku now in terms of launching? I don't know. Ryan, you may know more than me.
I know the application to FISRA is in. So it is on the community to go to paku.ca and make our pledge. We definitely have to, I would say, supercharge their campaign about getting more people to pledge, because they do need to get $15 million of pledges. That would help when they get their conditional approval to get the full approval.
Yep. So, that's good. Yeah. That's my man, Roger. He comes back. The 3: trauma, symbolism, trauma, repetition, symbolism. This is repetition at its best. And speaking about repetition, family, I'm going to be reposting it today. Did a massive conversation last week with Dr. Alicia Watkins. Massive. And she talked about Black feminism. This was a masterclass. She went back in history.
What? Yes.
She is a professor, right?
Yes.
So she gave a masterclass on the history of Black feminism. I told her after, Dr. Alicia, you need to take this on tour. It was so.
Make sure there's a Toronto stop.
That I've actually reached out to her manager. There are 2 organizations in the Greater Toronto Halton area that have asked me how much would it cost to have her speak here. And also, very nice moment that happened during it. Dr. Boyce Watkins came on for a few moments.
Come on, yo, that's awesome.
He walked in and he hugged up his wife and he said, "Hey, Dr. Vibe, how you doing?" He says, "Love what you're doing, man. Keep on doing it." So I've got that clip that I'm going to be posting on social media platforms. And Dr. Alicia said that she's going to see she can have both of them together.
Okay,
on the platform.
Solid.
So just a promo. I'm going to be posting the replay of that today. So if you're following me on, especially that's why follow me on YouTube, you're going to see the replay.
Yes.
All right. Hayden goes, could the federal government lend Paku a couple of $1 million for 10 years interest free? I don't know.
Same. I don't know either. I don't see that it couldn't. Yeah.
I don't know. Latanya, we need to step out of the checkbox approach and actually do something. Ryan, keep chipping away. You'll eventually get the right people in the right seats. Well, this is Latanya. I think Randy has the right people. He has his talented 10th, so to speak.
Right. Yes.
Already. And Roger brings up a very good point. Let's see how the conservatives treat us when they win the next election. All things are pointing Pierre being the next prime minister.
Really? It would be quite a feat for Trudeau to win again. I would say that. And then that is the question that Roger is now posing. How have we engaged with all political parties? We seem locked into one. So when they're not in power, the Black community completely gets ignored. We have to see what is the strategy that all three leaders are presenting to the Black community. Well, I don't even know what strategy the Liberal government is presenting to the Black community. So,
because they take us for granted and we take them for granted, right? And this is the former president of the United States. I never mentioned his name, but he had a controversy, and one of the terms that came up was quid pro quo. Right? If I'm giving you something, you got to give me something in return. That's the way the Black melanated populace of this country has to roll when it comes to politics. What are you going to give me? And if you don't give it to me, you can't count on my support. And then we got to back that or not even vote.
What? Oh, man, there's something that I wasn't planning to talk about, but I was on a call and it was for Black History Month. I think it was just after Black History Month.
Oh, speaking of which, Black History Month is finished, everybody. What's next?
Still Black.
What's next?
Because
nothing against a celebration of it. Okay, the celebration. So what we working on?
That's why I like Black Futures was in March. So let's keep it now. March should be Black Futures.
It's actually Women's History Month this month.
True. Yes. So I was part of a discussion. A gentleman, Professor Christopher, and I have to look up his last name, but he talked about, because we always point to Pierre Trudeau as like why the Black community is so fixated on liberals. But he mentioned that when the domestic worker immigration program was put in place, a lot of women that came over from the Caribbean actually had to de-skill themselves in order to become domestic worker. So we might be looking at things that have happened in the past in a perspective that isn't accurate. Like we have to really dig into what did that program actually do for the Black community. There's been a lot of reports that show the domino effect of it being negative. So if that's the only reason we're voting liberal, and it actually might not have been the best thing for the Black community, why are we locked into any party? We have to figure out for ourselves what is the best course of action. And I don't think we've ever really stepped into that strategic level of thinking and then put that blueprint on their table and say, this is what we need.
So what a number of people have come to me saying, we don't vote liberal, we don't vote conservative, we don't vote NBT, we don't vote green, we vote Black.
But that's interesting, because
that's what we should vote Black.
We should be doing.
Yeah, that's just saying we should vote Black. Who is gonna give us the most? Like, and I find it very interesting. I love, and again, of course, demographics come into this. Interesting. There's other cultural communities out there. I'd like to see what percentage of their population votes in elections and see how they compare to us economically. Because something tells me that there are cultural groups out there. We always say, oh, no one, we don't vote. We don't vote. We don't vote. I'd be very interested. I know in the United States, for example, in the United States, Chinese or Asian Americans have a lower percentage of voter turnout than Black Americans.
Wow, really?
But their economic status is way ahead of Black status. Like I would say that probably Chinese American is probably one of the highest cultural groups when it comes to average income in America.
Gotcha. Yes.
I'd be very interested to see the correlation between cultural voter turnout versus cultural economic value.
Yeah, that is an interesting. I would like to see that frequency table as well.
Because something just tells me that there are cultural groups out there that have a less percentage turnout vote-wise that are far ahead of Black Canadian economic value.
And this came up in the book I'm reading, The Blueprint for Black Power, and I mentioned it by Dr. Amos Wilson.
Yeah, I watched one of his lectures on the weekend.
And he says, like, other groups know how to have leverage no matter who is in office. That is the shift, because if we have our own strategy, it doesn't matter who's in office. That is the strategy that we're bringing to them that they need to deliver for the Black community. So yeah, we should. And again, we should have. Hey, the mayor campaign is about to start for Toronto. We should have our conversation.
Interesting.
About that.
Let's catch up. Fitness and IQ says I was about to mention that Dr. Vibe Women's History Month. Tim Frey says just celebrate Black history. Ray says I've been saying that to years for Ryan. Trudeau's immigration policies did more bad than good for the Afro and Caribbean community. Time to start thinking critically, and remove that emotion. Yes, we got to get the emotion. Let's deal with facts. And Ray says, Dr. Vibe, it's called wealth over politics. Time for us to adapt that approach. Yeah, like my question to everybody is, if you voted, what is your vote getting you?
That's a great
Black Canadians, Black North Americans. What is your vote getting? And when Black people say they don't vote, some people say, "Why? You mean your vote?" Yeah, but I'm saying, what am I getting for my vote?
100%.
So that may be like, so we can't sometimes gang up as to why they don't vote. What are you getting for your vote? Just a thought.
That is the town hall question.
Divine right, great. For example, Chinese Americans have their hair and beauty supply store industry on lockdown. A lot of us work in their stores here in the DMV and New York City area. They not only have the supply store industry, they have the supply chain locked down. Forget the stores.
Right, yes.
They've got it locked down. They've nailed the supply chain. They got it down pat. And probably the person who's manufacturing that probably looks like us, but the distribution and where it ends up to be bought, they own it, and more power to them. Simple as that. But I'd really want to see about the percentage of cultures that vote and what their economics. Oh wow, long time. Dave Lindsay. More of us need to study Blueprint for Black Power to assist with strategy. What's up, Mr. Lindsay? Grand Rising, great to see you, my brother. Divine goes, that part, Dr. Vibe, they have the supply chain on lockdown. Yeah, right. It's distribution. Let's take another great example. Black music.
Distribution is not owned by us. We are the content creators, and we are being exported heavily. But we are not.
You as well. Yes, Don't be a stranger, Mr. Lindsay. Good. Grand rising to see you. Well, I remember, and I've said it a few times, one of the great interviews I saw in the last few years is when Tavis Smiley, for those who are old enough to remember, when he started his PBS show, was the first Black man who had was he before Arsenio Hall or not? That's a good question. I got to look.
Sure. Not the BET. I think BET.
No, but he had his. Did he have a talk? Did he do a talk show on BET or did he news? But regardless,
he was one of talk show.
Okay, so he was one of the major influences why I got started. And he just got interviewed in the last year or two on Vlad TV on YouTube, and he had a 20-year relationship with Prince. Gotcha. And just in the last few years, Tavis Smiley has bought a all-talk radio station in LA. And it's one of only 4 Black talk radio stations west of the Mississippi River in America.
Okay.
One of 4. And the interview asked him, why did you buy it? And he says, well, something Prince taught me. He said, distribution is king, ownership is the empire.
And you know who's going to be at the Power Networking Conference in August? Tavis Smiley.
Mm-hmm.
You got to make a note.
You're back.
That man.
We've got to find a Black melanated travel agent because that time is coming out soon, and we have to do some stuff on that. I was going to talk to you. We got to do some back channel work on sort of that stuff. But yeah, so we're in a little bit of bonus time here, but again, family, this is always a great conversation. We were going to talk, and maybe we'll get to, if we don't have a guest on Friday, hopefully we'll talk about Chat GPT and AI. And there's an article that Ryan and I need to talk about 10 jobs that look like they're going to go poof.
Right.
With AI, poof with AI. So maybe we'll get that. I'm actually thinking about asking, you know what? I'm gonna make a call to someone that's in the chat today, see if they like to come on, because he says love to come on. So let's see if they're going to be available to come on Friday. Christopher says, are there any new initiatives coming that are helping entrepreneurs to secure clients and business resources? Do you know of any, Ryan?
Not specifically, but that's where ACBN, we're actually trying to get better at that. So stay tuned for services that we are going to be offering, especially around marketing and sales, because operations. So digitizing operations and help with marketing and sales, because we get a lot of applications for people looking for money. And the biggest thing that's missing is a true strategy to increase sales. The marketing strategy, the business plan, I mean, they're okay, but that strategy to be consistent with marketing and increase sales, because once you have that on lock, that takes care of the loan payments. So we're going to be focusing a lot of our work on that.
Quick question for you, Ryan. What are you speak with a lot of business owners, so do I don't speak to as many as yourself, but what do you think is one of the 2 or 3 biggest things that are stopping Black businesses to move ahead? I have 1 or 2 things in my mind, but I want to hear from your lens.
There's a mix of stuff. There's one is that they actually are in the wrong industry. So we start a lot of businesses in industries that aren't able to scale. And then 2, even if we are, operating for a while and making good money, there's no consistency with the operations of the business. So people will apply and they've been running their business, and I go to meet them at their office, and their entire client portfolio is on their desk. Business cards here, names written here. They don't have like an online CRM, which is a customer relationship management platform, processes to organize their clients, because that is the gold mine of your business. When you go to sell your business, the person wants to see who are your clients. If it's just on your desk written down in notes and papers, your business is not saleable. And that's something that a gentleman that was at the symposium talked about. Anthony, he does a lot of helping businesses with exiting, so helping them get ready to sell their business. And so we have to get better at creating strong infrastructure so that 1, it can operate, 2, it can operate without you, And 3, it can be sold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thanks. I'm gonna add one more thing, and that's again another whole other conversation. I'm gonna use the acronym ATC. What do you think that stands for?
Oh boy, I don't know.
Well, it's somewhat related to what Christopher is saying here, but ATC, access to cash flow.
Okay.
I think that's another challenge in a number of Black
Well,
businesses.
I would edit it a little bit because it's access to capital and then managing cash flow. We don't manage cash flow very well. And so that's one thing I would definitely agree with you there. Cash flow is so important. It's like that is the lifeblood of the business. It should be high priority, especially for the business owner. We have to be on top of that. That should be what we live, breathe, eat, sleep, make sure that, because that's what keeps the business alive.
Yeah,
so
and
really cool.
I agree with you. I also agree with you. Great add-on about and Tim says standing operating procedures absolutely missing from many businesses. Many.
Yes.
I would add not only access to cash flow, but managing, because when you can manage your cash flow, so much easier, and also leveraging when you can manage it allows you to leverage and get other opportunities.
Right. It's nothing worse than you're making money, but for some reason the bank account's empty when you need the money. It is so stressful to be having that payroll day and money's not in the account, but you can see
it's one of those things.
Receivables out there.
Are you making sales? Or are you making revenue?
Right.
Yeah. Are you making sales?
Cash in the bank.
Yeah, cash in the bank. Ray saying perhaps, Ryan, we at ACN need to start to do field trips to establish a business so folks can actually see different types of operation and structure. Interview a cross section of folks. Hey man, why are these people? See, that's another thing.
I love that.
Why are these people come on to the Morning Vibe and talk about their business?
Yes,
free publicity. But I guess again, because you're not managing things, that doesn't come up in your head. But it's an investment, not an expense. But it's a great idea, Ray. Great idea.
I do have to run.
Yes. So we're gonna get out of here. So Fitness IQ Camp says cash flow is important. Yes. So family, thanks again for rocking with the conversation as always. I'd like to say, please promote. If you'd like to promote your business or service on your show, like the McMillan Group has done for a number of months on Monday. Thank you very much. Appreciate not taken for granted. You can watch replays of this epic conversation on the Dr. Vibe Show YouTube and Facebook, Afro-Caribbean Business Network, Facebook and YouTube, Ryan Oneil Knight on YouTube. Any last comments do you have, Ryan?
No, I always enjoy these conversations. The more that we can dig into the ecosystem and make it better, I think we all benefit from that. So,
Ryan, I'm gonna ask you a little favor. It's just a little favor. Your next ecosystem meeting, say, hey, if any of you ever need some free publicity about your organization, I do a show with Dr. Vibe every Monday and Friday morning at 9 a.m. Or you can arrange something with Dr. Vibe. He can feature you.
I would put it on the agenda.
Just put it out there.
Yes.
Just put it out there and see what happens. All right.
100%.
All right. As always, live your life as a dream. If you can dream it, you can make it. Sometimes you have to get smaller to get stronger. Block assumptions and aim bigger, aim better, aim higher, aim wider. Love, faith, and respect. Remember to give yourself grace and don't just manage your time, manage your energy. Have a great week, everyone. We'll see you on Friday. I'm going to work on a guest. I'm going to be calling him right now after we finish to see if we can get him on. So God bless. Peace well. Keep the faith and walk good.